What's going on, everybody? Welcome to episode 35 of Trail Tales. My name is Kyle O'Grady. I am a thru-hiker. I am a peak bagger. If you like to thru-hike or you like to peak bag or you are curious about those things and you have not done so already, I encourage you to subscribe. Every single week I interview other hikers just like myself and we have a good time. And this episode is certainly no exception. My good friend Baker Bokorney joins the show for the third time. If you guys have listened to any of the previous episodes, you probably know him at this point. For this one, we decided to kind of switch it up a little bit. If you're looking for like a super informative, like inspiring episode of Trail Tales, I hate to say it, but you're probably not going to get that with this episode, and that's because we decided we wanted to do like a fun, like kind of sarcastic episode, an attempt at being funny basically. So that's kind of what this is. We each came up with a list of trail grievances and we just kind of went through those and talked about them. Like I said, we tried to make it funny. Obviously going to be a lot of sarcasm, a decent amount of swearing in this one, so maybe don't, play it around your kids or whatever. But yeah, I mean, I thought it came out pretty well. I had a blast editing it. I had a blast during it. So I say this every episode, but I say genuinely every episode, but like, I'm just going to stress this even more this time. I really want to know what you guys think of this episode. I know, most episodes are not going to be like this, but if people really like this kind of style of episode and like Baker in particular, I'd like to keep having him on and maybe try to do some funnier stuff if you like it. Maybe it sucks and I should just stick to the normal stuff because that's gotten me this far at least. So I don't know, I'm just really curious to know what you guys thought of this. I thought it'd be cool to kind of put out something a little bit different, so that's what we're gonna do. Towards the end of the episode, Baker also goes into some Trail Tales specific grievances, like some grievances just about the show, which I thought were hilarious. If you're not like a regular listener, you might not get some of that stuff, but if you've listened to every single episode, I think you're going to find it pretty funny too. And yeah, it was really, really sweet. Baker, thank you so much for coming on, dude. I really, really appreciate it. I'm going to keep this introduction short, and I know, like, I say that a lot, but I actually mean it this time. I'm only going to go over one thing before we get into the episode, and that thing is I would really, really appreciate it if you guys considered making a donation to 46 Climbs, in particular the Trail Tales team for 46 Climbs. All the funds go to the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. Some of you guys might remember a long time ago on episode 15, I believe it was, I had my friend Colby Ziemendorf on. He started this organization called 46 Climbs after he lost a friend to suicide. The way this works is you're going to register on 46climbs.com. Make sure you put Trail Tales as the team that you're registering with. You're going to get a t-shirt and some other goodies when you register and make your donation. And then during the week of August 30th through September 8th, you're going to get to choose a hike or a mountain that you want to go out and climb. You're going to put on your 46 Climbs swag and you're going to go out and do it. And everybody is going to have a blast and raise some money for this fantastic cause. Once again, you're going to go to 46climbs.com. You're going to go up to the top bar. You're going to click on donate. I'm doing it right in front of me right now just so I don't mess this up. Got to make sure that I get it right. It's going to load, and then you're going to come to a screen that says make a donation. You're going to type in Trail Tales as your team. That's going to take you right to the Trail Tales page where you can make your donation. You can also just go through the link that's going to be in the show notes of this episode, guys. I know I asked for money on the Patreon and stuff. I'm kind of putting that aside for now because I'd really like to raise some money for this. I got one donation last week, which was amazing. I'm halfway to my goal of $100, but I feel like I can maybe even do a little bit better than that. I'd like to do a little bit better than that, so please consider. Once again, this goes to a great cause. I will also say that if you make a donation under the Trail Tales team, I want you to send me an email letting me know. And at that point, I want you to send me your address because I'm actually going to send you a Trail Tales sticker just to show my appreciation because I got a shipment of 100 Trail Tales stickers in the mail the other day and I kind of want to get those out there to people. So that's just one more reason to go do this. I would really, really appreciate it, guys. With that said, I think we're going to get into the episode round 3 with Baker Bokorney, Appalachian Trail, Arizona Trail, and Florida Trail class of 2018. All right, here we go. I totally just botched the introduction, so I'm starting clean. But yeah, episode 35. Baker Bokorney is here for the third time. That's right. He is the first 3-time guest on the show. Now, some of you are probably like, "Oh, you're running out of guests, aren't you, Kyle?" And to that, I would say no. I have plenty of guests, and that's your guys' job as the listeners to suggest them anyway. So. You guys are running out of guests. No, I'm not running out of guests. Baker is just a really good friend of mine, and we have a lot of fun when we talk, and so we're doing a third episode. So I just kind of want to give some background on like the topic that we're going to be. It's not even a topic, the theme of today's episode. So last time when we recorded, it wasn't even that long ago, Baker. When did we do our last episode? It was probably like a month or two ago.
Yeah, it feels like about a month ago, I think.
The gear episode. I think it was like 28. I don't know why. I usually forget the numbers. So yeah, just a couple weeks ago. And Baker kind of, I forget, it was probably like after we were done recording, we were still chatting, and you came up with this idea to do an episode on trail grievances because, there's nothing better than taking like a outdoor recreational activity that people do for fun and breaking it down into all the things you don't like about it. So that's what we're going to do today. Yeah, so it's going to be like an attempt at like jokes and stuff. People like, we're not like actually like ungrateful. Like, can we give that disclaimer, Baker? Like,
yeah, I was going to say, let's please. A lot of these are definitely, heavily laden in sarcasm, and so I don't want to come off as ungrateful or like I don't recognize the reasons why some of these things are they're just more just to have fun.
This is gonna be at the very worst, it's gonna be an attempt at like a funny episode.
Yeah.
Like, at the best, it will actually be that. At the worst, it'll be an attempt. But we're
actually the worst is people will think we're totally serious, and
actually,
then they think we're just total assholes. So that's actually the worst case scenario.
But that's the point of the disclaimer,
That's true. So if they take us out of context, we can claim that they didn't listen to the very very beginning of the episode.
Exactly. So, anyways, I know a lot of the people listening are probably familiar with you at this point, Baker. They probably recognize your voice, at least, if they didn't remember your name, which they should have. Baker, I mean, how many people are named Baker? But...
So actually, because Baker Mayfield is now like a professional football player or whatever, apparently a lot of kids are being named Baker these days. Like someone
really?
just sent me a story recently about how it's like one of the most popular names right now. So
interesting.
Yeah, so I guess my unique first name is becoming less unique as the time goes on. So.
Oh, damn.
But for now, I think I'm still pretty unique, so we'll see.
I don't even know who Baker Mayfield.
He's I don't really know either, but he's like I have some family who lives in Cleveland. He plays for the Cleveland Browns now, their football team. So they've talked about how a lot of the kids in Cleveland are being named Baker Mayfield now.
Interesting.
So, I don't know. This is what I'm told by sports fans. Well,
anyways, if you didn't recognize his name, hopefully you recognize his voice by now, because like I said, he's been on a couple episodes. He's done the most episodes out of any guest is what I'm trying to say there. But Baker, for those that might have just joined the show and didn't bother to listen to the backlog of episodes, why don't you just go ahead and briefly introduce yourself and talk about what you have hiked?
Yeah, so let's see. Last year, 2018, was my big hiking year. I had done some smaller hikes before that, just like, weekend trips and stuff like that. But last year I hiked the Florida Trail in kind of the beginning of the year. And then with my fiance, Little Bear, who's sitting in the room right now.
Yes, I was going to say.
Yeah, she might interject on some of these trail grievances. I must say she brought up a lot of these, so I'll have to give her credit on some of these. But so we hiked the AT last year. And so that we did that between like May and October. And then after that, I went to Arizona and I hiked for about 25-ish days, I think. And then my body finally said, nah, no more hiking. And I was like, all right, time to go back home.
What about the Florida Trail?
No, I think I said that, right?
Oh, did I miss that? Oh, shit.
I mean, you may have zoned out. You may have zoned out there.
Baker, you're too boring already.
I know.
Maybe because this is like the third time I've had you.
I was gonna say you're probably just tired. You're just tired of hearing it.
Yeah.
So either way, I did hike. If I didn't say it already, I hiked the Florida Trail.
I think
before that, so it's okay. So yeah, anyway, I did some hiking last year, and along the way, along the Appalachian Trail, Nar and I met up, and we hiked for like the last month or so.
Yep.
And so now he's just he's been doing this podcast thing. I was very skeptical when he first said he was going to do it on trail. I was like, that I seriously doubt he's going to do that.
Yeah, I was telling all the people I was hiking with, like towards the end, I was like, yeah, I'm going to start a podcast when I get done from the trail, and they were like, yeah, okay, cool. Like
I was like, there's no way that's going to happen, but here we are. You just said episode 30 what?
35.
Man, you got to do something big for episode 50.
Yeah, I should. I gotta get there first, but I don't plan on stopping anytime soon. So
that's true. But either way, yeah. So here he is doing the podcast. It's pretty exciting.
And here you are for the third time. Oh man, I'm so excited. I love doing these episodes with people that like I don't know and have like new information to share and everything. But I also like really like to do them with people I actually do know. Hence why you're on for 3 times. Mullet's been on twice, and Flossie's been on twice too. So like, right. I don't know. It's a little bit easier for me to prepare because I don't have to like actually prepare any questions and like not be like a jerk to like this person. Like I can just be a sarcastic asshole, and that's pretty much what this entire episode is probably going to be. So oh yeah. So trail grievances. I guess we each have a list of trail grievances, and I want to clarify too. Like the standard for these grievances is literally anything that has to do with hiking. So that could be like on trail, that could be involving or relating to the trail community, like literally anything at all to do with hiking. And then at the end or towards the end of the episode, Baker has some grievances specifically for Trail Tales, which I am very excited to hear. Oh man, this is going to be great.
Yeah, I'm excited to lay these on you.
Perfect. Don't hold back. And then there's a motorcycle back there. I don't know if you could hear that.
Is someone riding a motorcycle through your house there?
Dude, I live pretty close to like a highway, Interstate 89 here in Vermont. So, and plus it's summer now. Like my window's wide open because it's really hot and humid here today.
It's lawn mowing season.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And then at the very end, like the actual very end of the episode, Baker's been on twice already, and both times I have forgotten to have him share a story, which is ridiculous because that's like the thing about Trail Tales, right? Like it's literally called Trail Tales, and I do that with everyone else. I forgot twice with him, so
twice.
I'm gonna make sure we get to it this time. I promise, Baker. And if I don't, then
I'll be amazed if you somehow manage to skip it again for a third time. I'll just be like, this wasn't meant to be.
I don't know. All right, so you better have some good stories now. So
I think I do. We'll see. I don't know if they're going to be as good as like that last episode and that guy with the helicopter getting rescued with the helicopter.
Yeah.
None of them are going to be as scary as that. I can assure you.
Yeah. Hopefully not. If
you haven't listened to that episode, people, go back and listen. That was some intense stuff right there. Yes,
that'll be, at the time you guys hear this, that'll be 2 episodes ago. That'll be number 33, because I'm on top of my shit a little bit now.
Yeah,
and
nice.
I like recorded 2 episodes last week while I didn't post an episode, so I felt bad, so I recorded 2. I usually just do them week by week, so I'm a little bit ahead of the game, so this is going to be out in like 2 weeks, but
yeah, that was Jake Pickering's episode, I think.
Yes, just came out. Actually, it just came out today. This is...
I know.
Well, everybody listening, it came out like 2 weeks ago, like I just said. But
it's old news.
As of the day, like literally right now, it is 7:23 p.m. Eastern time on June 26th. And okay, anyways, let's get into the trail grievances. Shit, how should we do this? Do you want to start? Or do you want me to start? Should we like flip a coin or a guitar pick? I have a guitar pick right here.
All right, you can flip your pick.
Okay. One side has like some printing on it. The other side is blank. Which side do you want?
I'm feeling blank.
Blank. Okay. Oh, that's me. I'm going first.
All right, go for it.
So my first trail grievance. All right. So we're gonna explain all these, obviously. So my first grievance is with the term "hike your own hike." So this term. All right. So like, I'm not saying like I don't want people to hike their own hike. Like I'm not saying you have to hike my hike. Like that's not what I'm saying here, people. Like don't be sending me an angry email. What I mean by this is I feel like people just use it sometimes to like justify just like bad or even just like stupid behavior on the trail. It's like, oh, I want to bring like a 200-pound pack. That's an exaggeration, obviously, but like I'm just like bringing ridiculous stuff, and I don't even want to think about cutting my weight because hike your own hike. Or maybe something even worse, like, oh, I want to just like fucking shit in the middle of the trail and not bury it because hike your own hike. I obviously exaggerations there, but like I think people get what I'm going for. Like have you ever found that people kind of like exaggerate like what exactly hike your own hike means?
Yeah, and I think people also use it to passive aggressively say you should hike my hike too. It's not just, it's definitely justifying like very like, I don't know, very odd and unusual ways of hiking, but it's also like, yeah, people are like, well, you're doing 10 miles today, that's it. Oh, well, hike your own hike. It's like it wasn't they weren't being genuine when they said that. Like that was them saying like, oh, I'm gonna hike more miles than you, and that means I'm better than you, so this is how I'm telling you. I don't know. It's like it feels very disingenuous in some contexts when people say it.
I feel like it has like I said when I first said it there, like at its core, it is a good thing, obviously, but it's to the point now where it's just like so overused that like every time I hear it, like I almost like don't take it seriously,
Yeah. Yeah, you just have to get, I don't know. It really depends on the context of how and when you say it. But yeah, it is too bad because it is definitely one of the best principles out there to follow, I'd say.
For sure. So with that said, everybody hike your own hike. Just like I podcast my own podcast. Shit. All right. I think that's hopefully we haven't lost anybody after that one. Baker, what's your first grievance?
All right. So this one comes from Little Bear. And she says, when plants grow into the trail and you really have to interact with nature. And that one just bugged her constantly. So she is a shorter person, around 4'10", and so I think she gets even hit in the face sometimes with these plants that are just like,
I don't know why. I was picturing just like a flower just like in the middle of the trail.
Oh, no, I don't think she'd have a problem with a flower unless there was like a bee flying around it. But no, it's like, I'm trying to remember what they were, like those stingy nettles in North Carolina.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, those admittedly were not fun to walk through. And like, it was just so much rain that like things were growing so much. They were just, and the trail maintainers can't get there all the time. And
or like blowdowns too. Blowdowns, like that's a classic example of nature getting in the way of the trail. Like, come on,
it's like, what is that tree doing? I just don't.
What does that tree think it's doing? Falling over.
Trees are supposed to be standing up. I guarantee you that tree is not doing well if it's laying down. I don't know why it would choose to do that. Like that tree's not going to be reproducing and creating super powered trees. Like,
and then you just smack your head against them. Oh, dude, that happens to me like so much. Honestly, like like you'll just be, especially when you're going uphill, like steep. Like I'll just be. This happened to me just like last week. I don't even remember where I was. I was hiking and looking down, watching my step or whatever, and just smacked my head right into a tree, like kind of hard. Like I'm fine, obviously, but like I was like, damn, like if I hit that even harder, like that could have been kind of bad.
Yeah, I feel like wearing a hat sometimes is like it's like a hazard. Like when you're in a thickly, when you're in a densely wooded area, because if you're not looking, it's especially if you're going uphill, it's really blocking the area of your periphery that would alert you of dangers to your head. So I don't know. I've definitely hit my head quite a number of times and like, all right, I gotta take this hat off because I just can't see anything.
Oh yeah, for sure. Actually, going way back, I can't remember what episode number this was, but when I had my friend Breezy on, like probably back in December.
I was just thinking about that.
He, his like end of episode story was about how he smacked his head pretty hard against a tree and like he was bleeding like crazy, and he was fine, but like, well, he didn't like have any serious injuries anyways, but like, that could have been pretty bad. So
the photo was gnarly from that.
Yes, the photo was gnarly. Everybody go check that out if you haven't listened to that one yet. I don't remember what number it is. Probably like around 10 or some shit like that. I don't know.
It's early on.
Early Trail Tales. I'm trying to think of what else. Like, does nature include like things that aren't just like plants either? Like, I don't know, like bees, or I know Jessica loves bees. Yeah,
she is definitely loves bees. Big time bee fan. Oh man,
I hear her laughing back.
Yeah, we actually were hiking yesterday and we went past this there was like a rock formation, there was a hole in it, and there were bees just like swarming around the hole. I was like, oh, let's check out that cool hole. And she was like, we're going. She's like, we're out of here. Yeah, she's not a fan of the bees.
No. All right, nature, stay off the trail. Come on. All right. I don't really have like a list of these or like a chronological list. Like I'm just like trying to decide which one I want next year. We'll kind of going back to my first one just a little bit, and I'll explain what I mean by that. My second trail grievance is most hiking Facebook groups. Because like, and I actually talked about this a little bit on my episode with Jake, or just for like a second. Like, yeah. I feel kind of like an asshole saying that because I occasionally, not like super often, but occasionally, if I think I have something like relevant to add to the Facebook groups, I'll like post these episodes in there. And obviously, like, it's a good way to kind of get it out there to people. I don't post like every single one, but so I kind of feel like an asshole for saying this, but like, dude, there's some gnarly shit in those like the Appalachian Trail class of whatever Facebook groups. Like, are you in any of those?
I'm actually not, and I've heard lots of like bad things about them. So I'm kind of like, I don't know why I should even bother to join them.
Because they're kind of funny sometimes.
Right? Yeah, I'm sure there's sometimes that are just like priceless.
Yeah, and it's like, I also want to be clear, like. It's not like just because like a lot of the people that post in there ask like beginner questions. Although I will say that when people ask like very like basic questions, that is like a little bit like annoying, because like I get it. Like obviously not everybody like knows like a lot of things about hiking. Like there's nothing wrong with like doing research, but it's like, just use the search bar. Like if you have like a what is the best shoes to wear on the Appalachian Trail like type of question, like please use the or just Google it. Like just Google it. Like, you don't have to post it in the Facebook group and then like 50 people will comment about like what shoes they use and like why their shoes are best. And this is how it wraps back into hike your own hike. And then the next thing you know, everyone's like arguing about shit, and then some guy will just throw in like a hike your own hike, and then the discussion is just over. Like that's what it always boils down to, pretty much.
Yeah, and it's like what about the AT is really specific to shoes? Like, you know, there's probably you know, like you could have. That's just a general question. Yeah, really.
And that being said, like there are like good threads in there too. Like it's not all bad, but a lot of the time too, I feel like you'll get people commenting that like don't actually know like the answer to the question. They're just commenting to like people just love Facebook groups for some reason. I don't know. I don't really use Facebook that much, but like that's kind of annoying. And then every now and then you'll have like a straight up just like ridiculous or just not true at all like type of post. Like I remember one that came to mind. It was like I don't remember who this was. It was like a month or two ago. So like if you're the person that made this post, if you're listening to this, like I'm not trying to talk shit, but like this was ridiculous. They said something along the lines of like something about like the feds like bringing like drug dogs like up and down the AT like looking for drugs, and I was like, what the fuck are they like why would they waste their time and then like all the comments are just people just like, no, you're full of shit. Like it was just not very productive. So yeah, shit like that kind of it doesn't really matter, but it's just, it kind of gets on my my nerves a little bit sometimes. Yeah.
And I've heard like, I mean, I don't know from experience, but I've heard like people talk about like on trails like maybe like the Pacific Crest Trail, when you have things like the Sierra or something and people are kind of fear mongering or speculating about how dangerous it is to go into kind of like those kind of areas. Like I've never, like, again, I haven't really been on those groups and I've never hiked the PCT, but I've heard a lot of hikers talk about like the fear mongering that goes on around that kind of topic. And, you know, I mean, I wonder how much of that is helping people or just making people worry for no reason.
Yeah. And I also feel like a lot of the people that comment on that kind of thing just like comment based off of other people's comments. Like they don't actually know what they're talking about. They just like see like whatever the popular like social media opinion is, and they just throw that in there for whatever reason. Like, I don't know, but yeah, that's kind of annoying. And then the one that gets me the most, and like, I almost understand this question a little bit more after the recent like really awful events that happened on the AT with the hiker who was murdered. But like even before that, like this still would happen a lot. People would always ask about the gun question. Like, should I bring or do I need a gun on the AT? And like, I'm not going to get into like whether, like, I'm not going to actually answer that question, but it's like, posting that in a Facebook group is a recipe for disaster, dude. Holy shit.
That's just a shouting match waiting to happen.
It's just gonna be a shit show every single time.
Yeah.
That I guess that being said, some of the smaller trail Facebook groups aren't quite as bad. Like, honestly, most of the bad stuff I see is in like the Appalachian Trail class of 2000 and X groups. Like, I know that I'm in a Facebook group for like the Cohos Trail, and that's like a pretty good one. I don't read it that often, but I never see any bullshit in there. And then the Long Trail one's like pretty good as well. So I don't know.
Yeah, the Florida Trail and Arizona Trail Facebook groups were really nice. I mean, it was so great. You could be like, hey, I'm going to be in this town at this time. And like someone would reply, oh, I'll pick you up and like, I'll give you a place to stay. Like, obviously the AT is just way too big to do that kind of thing. So I think for the smaller ones, there was sometimes some drama in the smaller ones. Like, it happens, but it was very productive and very like helpful kind of stuff. So.
Yeah. So it's not all bad. It's not all bad. I'm not against Facebook hiking groups, people, but some of that shit's kind of ridiculous. So I had to throw it in there.
Yeah.
What's your next one, Baker?
So this is one that I'm conflicted on, but I'm going to complain about it either way. So stores that make you leave your pack outside.
Oh, okay. I like this one. I like this one a lot.
Like, I mean, I kind of understand why they don't want you to bring your smelly like hiking stuff inside, because when you're hiking you don't notice how bad you smell, but once you get off trail and you smell your gear like a month after you've gone off trail, you're like, wow, it really does smell bad. But it's like everything you're carrying, everything you need basically is in that bag. And if someone just like walked by and picked up that bag and walked away, and you'd be in like some serious trouble, you know?
And it does happen sometimes too. It's very rare. Like, it's not something you should like actively like worry about, but definitely something you should be mindful of when you're through hiking. And that being said, honestly, another reason why I think stores do this too, like the smell and just like the general like griminess of a huge backpack being inside of a grocery store is like one thing. Another thing, actually, so we were together when this happened, when we were in Rangeley at that little tiny IGA. You remember that?
Yeah.
And we were like competing to like get a hitch out of town, like you and Little Bear versus like the three of us, and I think we won.
Yeah, you may have won.
Which I was surprised about, but anyways, so when we were at that grocery store, I did what I usually do, which is I take a shopping cart and I put my pack inside the shopping cart and then take it in like that. Like, it's not on my back, like bumping into people and shit. And the guy, one of the managers or employees, whatever, told me that the reason he wanted me to leave it outside was because they had a hiker who actually was stealing shit, like putting it in his backpack.
So
that's another big thing too. So like, again, I agree with you. Like, it is kind of like tough because I can see both sides. Like, as a hiker, obviously, like I do not feel comfortable leaving my pack out front of a store, definitely.
No.
And at the same time, I also understand that like some asshole might kind of ruin it for everybody, and the store, might be a little bit sketched out about that,
Yeah, I don't know. It's just something that it always bothered me. I never had anything bad happen either, but and usually you're in smaller towns. It's not like it's some really busy, like city or whatever. But yeah, I mean, still, if you went outside and your bag was gone, that would be like
end of hike for a lot of people.
Yeah, it'd be very inconvenient, and then you'd have to try to replace it. I don't know. It would just be a nightmare, really.
Yeah, for sure. I think the solution to that, and like this is again like kind of putting a little bit of work onto the stores, but like at the same time, like a lot of these stores like get a lot of money from hikers, so I feel like, and some of them do this too. I feel like they should kind of maybe accommodate them a little bit. I feel like having a designated spot inside the store, like near, like just near the employees, basically, maybe just like up front, or like build a little shelf like next to the manager's office or whatever, somewhere that's going to be like watched and kind of guarded a little bit, so that someone's not going to feel comfortable just walking up and like stealing shit, like they might outside of the store, and that would like alleviate the. I guess you'd still be bringing it inside the store, but at least it wouldn't be around the customers quite as much, and obviously you wouldn't be able to stuff a bunch of shit into it if you're a real dickhead. And I don't know. I feel like that's like the compromise that needs to be made there.
Yeah, that would work for some places, but other places, just like so many hikers coming in, it could be hard. But I agree. That's a good idea that I think a lot of places could probably implement if they're worried about letting you bring your pack inside.
Yeah, for sure. Don't steal, people. You ruin it for everybody. Don't be a dick.
No.
Okay, so my next one, I'm going to go back to hiking lingo again for this one. So honestly, this was the first one that came to mind when you threw out this idea, Baker. My third.
I think I know which one it is.
Do you?
I think so.
My third trail grievance is the term tramley.
Ah, there it is.
Was that it? Was that what you were
That
thinking?
was it. I knew that was what you were going to say.
Yes, I hate the word tramley. Like, oh my, it's like the cringiest thing ever. Like, so much of hiking, like, lingo is super cringy, but like in like a good way. But like the term tramley, like, oh man, that one gets me. I'd never heard it before. I set out on the AT, and like the first time I heard it, I just remember like kind of doing a double take. Like, is this person serious? Like, tramley, is that actually a word? And then people like continued to use it. Like even trail family is a little bit cringy too. Like, why don't you just say like your friends? But but like tramley especially, oh man, that one gets me going. What do you think about that term?
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's kind of cute, but yeah, it is. I remember the first time I heard it, I was like, wait, what? It's kind of just an odd sounding word. And yeah, when you have no context, you've never heard it for the first time. You're like, what?
Tramley.
You're doing what with your this what group of people? Like, it's very it's very confusing. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's kind of endearing that people like to create a family out of all the people they hike with. So
yeah.
would you consider your squad? I'm not going to call it your tramley, but your squad of fellas that you were hiking with, what would you ever refer to them as your tramley when you were out there? Or no?
I mean, I don't think so if I'm complaining about it right now. No, I feel like squad is even like a better, like slightly better word. Like, I don't know.
What would you use then if you were saying, oh, me and the blank or whatever?
Oh, I don't know, honestly. If Mullet, Flossie, and Indy, if you guys are listening to this, let me know what you might say, because we definitely never used tramley or trail family. I'm pretty sure. at least I never heard it. Maybe they used it behind my back. I don't know, like just our group maybe. Like, is that too, am I boring people? Like, I don't know. Tramley. It's so cringy though. It's like, oh, my tramley and I, like, we're going into town. Like, I don't know. That's just that one grinds my gears a little bit.
Yeah, that's kind of one of the weirder hiker lingo that's been created.
For sure. Let me know what you think about that, people. All right, why don't you go for number 3, Baker?
Sure. So this is something that I don't know where you were on the AT when this happened, but there was first all that rain, right? It was just tons of rain, and then there was like that drought. Do you recall this drought or this lack of rain? At least I don't know where you were at the time, but
maybe I don't know.
So okay, where I was in Virginia. This is like early July, I think we were going through there, something like that.
Yeah, I mean, I must have been close. I don't really remember any like droughts, but I remember some drier stretches of trail through there.
Or I guess maybe it was a heat wave too.
I remember plenty of those too. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's lots of those. But either way, so when we were in Virginia, there was just this drought where all the water sources were going dry, and of course it's like super hot and stuff. And it's like, what's going on, Virginia? Why are you letting all the water sources dry up? I thought this is the AT. We're supposed to be just like miserable and wet the whole time, not like
time.
Miserable and like thirsty. Like, that doesn't, it just doesn't make sense. I remember in Gut Hooks, there was this section of like, I think it was probably like 5 or 6, it's probably like 5 or 6 water sources in a row where you could tell this one person really wanted some water, and they went to all these water sources, and even some of them were like several like miles, not miles, but maybe a few tenths of a mile off trail, and they were trying to find water, and they just had you could see the same person like within one day had gone to all of these, and all they had commented on every single one was fucking dry, fucking dry, fucking dry. It was just like 5 in a row of that. And I was like, man, that poor guy, like he must have just suffered like trying to find water at every single one of them. And
just thirsty as hell.
Yeah, you could tell they were so pissed off. So I don't know. It was just crazy because it had rained so much in the beginning of the trail. And then all of a sudden it's just like, there's like, wait, where'd all the water go? So
yeah. No, I don't really remember anything that bad for me. I mean, you were probably like...
I'm sure we were behind you at that point. I know we were.
No, weren't you ahead of me?
No, at this point we were definitely, I'm sure we were behind you.
Because you started before me though, right?
Yeah, but we'd already taken like 10 days off for my brother's wedding and stuff, so yeah.
Oh, okay. Shit, I don't remember.
Yeah, but I remember like Sweatlines, who was also on the show earlier, he actually... I think he told me he like passed out in a grocery store or something from like heat exhaustion. Like it was because he was in Pennsylvania, so it was like you're in lower elevation, and it was like 100 or like high 90s or whatever, and just super humid during this heat wave. And so Yeah, I think I can't remember. I don't want to like misquote what happened to him, but he had some sort of issues with like heat exhaustion and something like that. And I mean, he was like doing the thing like that, you know, people do in the desert where you like you nap you take a siesta through the middle of the day and hike it like in the early morning at night. And it's like you shouldn't need to do that in the AT, but it was one of those years, I guess.
Hey, the South is hot and humid, so
it was hot.
It was brutal, man. It was pretty brutal, especially coming from like living in Vermont for most of my life, where it gets humid, but for like a month and a half out of the year, 2 months,
right.
3 months max, like, and that's pushing it. So I was not used to that. Like I'd never even been in the South during the summer before. So like that was a little rough, but yeah, like, I got through it. It's honestly hiking around here now a little bit this summer has made me realize I mean, obviously I knew it was really hot like on my through hike for a lot of it, but it's made me realize especially like how much I was like sweating due to the humidity because I have not sweat anything close to what I was on my through hiking spots. Like, oh, that was so disgusting. I'm sure by the time I met you, we had kind of got past all the hot days, but like Flossie and Indy and those guys will tell you, like, I sweat a ton. Like, it was not good. It was not fun.
No, we could have an entire podcast just complaining about that.
Oh, for sure. I hate heat. Not a big fan of heat. I also don't hike during the winter, so I don't know what the hell I'm gonna do with myself. But all right. So my next one here. So this one, I feel like a lot of people are gonna agree with this one. I did not like it when people played music out loud, like on a speaker when they were hiking, like on the trail. You know, did you see that a lot?
Yes, and I totally agree that is not acceptable behavior.
Yeah, that is really annoying. People, please don't do that. Like, I get it. Like, maybe like your headphones broke or something. Like, fine, I'll give you that one. If you're like on a through hike and your headphones break and you just gotta listen to Joe Rogan or Trail Tales while you're crushing the next mile before you get into town.
Trail Tales is okay. You can play that out loud. That gets an exception.
Yeah, that's true. That's fair.
That's actually encouraged, really.
If your headphones break, like, fine, I'll allow that. Mostly because that happened to me one time. But like everything else, full transparency here. Like, please don't listen to music out loud, especially maybe at least a cell phone speaker like is pretty quiet. But like people would literally have fucking Bluetooth speakers and just be bumping, dude. They'd just be bumping down the trail, and it's like, sorry, I don't want to hear your EDM music like while I'm in the middle. Like, oh my god, one time, I don't want to shit on this girl too much because she was actually like very chill and down to earth, and I liked hanging out with her or whatever. But there's this girl right at the end of our through hike, Baker. I think it was like our second to last day. We were at the end of the 100-mile wilderness, and I was like going up this like beautiful mountain. It's like a sunny day during the fall, just like perfect hiking temperature, reflecting on, you know, what's about to end and all this stuff. And then all of a sudden I just hear like rave music just in the middle of the 100-mile wilderness. It's just like a fucking rave like on this mountain. And I pass this girl and I'm just like, oh, why? Like, why do you have to do that? And like, I heard it like before I even got up to her, then after I passed her, and I was just like, please don't do that, people.
Yeah, that is, I mean, and I think Little Bear told this story of the guy who was like doing metal screamo in the middle of the woods. So, I mean, you know, if you're gonna like, definitely don't play music out loud, but really definitely don't like play music where you can hear from like you can hear you screaming from like a quarter mile away. Like, and then you think people are just like, you know, getting attacked in the woods. Like, that's like a double no right there.
Yeah, don't do that. And I guess you could even maybe extend that to like actual musical instruments. That being said, I feel like if you're good at your instrument, like actually good at it, and you're not playing it like at night, basically, I don't think that many people would have a problem with it. But like, don't be whipping out your fucking like guitar and playing like a really bad version of Wonderwall by Oasis. like unless you've literally been complimented on your playing like multiple times, like probably shouldn't be playing either. That being said, I never really had any problems with that. It was mostly just the Bluetooth speakers.
Yeah, actually, ridiculous. People with instruments was always like, I actually thought that was pretty cool because just because it was so rare. And usually if they're playing an instrument, they're also probably pretty like conscious about not being knowing about it. Like there was this one time, it was so cool. I think we were in like Massachusetts and we were at a shelter, and we were kind of eating dinner and everyone's like hanging around by the picnic table, whatever. And then it starts to sprinkle, so everyone kind of just sprints to their tent before like the inevitable downpour happens. And so everyone kind of dives in their tents and it starts pouring. And, it's like getting dark. So it's like, I guess, sort of like hiker midnight. And then all of a sudden, just out of nowhere, like this fiddle just starts playing this like really, this like super like melancholy, like emotional like piece. And it was really good. I mean, like, I'm not like an expert on like stringed instruments, but to me, it sounded really good. And I was just like, wow, I was just like laying there, like in the dark, like falling asleep, like listening to this. And I was like, that was just so cool. Like, cause there had been all this like excitement and chatter and like commotion, when we were all like talking, at the shelter, and then we all get in our tents and it's just kind of quiet. And then it's just the sound of the rain. And then like this sound of this, like, like violin just starts like playing. And it was just like, is that a real violin? Is that someone playing out loud? Like, I didn't know, cause I couldn't see what was happening outside the tent. And so that was like a really unexpected one. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah, that is kind of cool.
So in that case, like live instruments, I think are okay. They also get an exception.
Yeah. I feel like also if you're gonna haul like a big instrument out there, you're probably gonna be pretty good at it. I mean, maybe there's some asshole out there who like knows like 2 chords and decides he's like fucking the next like Slash from Guns N' Roses and wants to go shred on the trail, but probably not. So yeah, keep your music to yourself, people. What's your next one, Baker?
All right, I think just my complaint here is just Pennsylvania. That's my my entire complaint, which is weird. The funny thing is, like, before the trail, I had heard, and maybe part of this is the fact that like Pennsylvania gets a lot of hate just from like the general trail, like the trail community in general. So even before I had hiked the ATI, I kind of had these expectations that it wouldn't be like a great state, it wouldn't be a very enjoyable state to hike through.
Yeah.
And so that could be part of like why I didn't like it. And so, I kind of figured that was a unanimous thing, is that people didn't like it. But then, like Little Bear, that was like one of her favorite states.
Mullet too.
And I was gonna say Mullet also liked it. And Little Bear's giving me a so-so, but either way, it's like bottom of the list for me, and it's definitely not bottom of the list for her. So it's just I don't understand like how some people can actually like. I don't know. I think I just must have had a really bad time in Pennsylvania. I had like some. Well, that was when it really just downpoured. Remember all that flooding that was happening?
Yeah,
and stuff
I got
like
that through Pennsylvania too.
Right. So there was just tons of rain. So the trail was just like leaking water everywhere, and everything was especially wet. And I remember just getting like terrible blisters that every step was like pure pain in there. So like I think in a different season, I probably would have enjoyed Pennsylvania a little more.
Maybe in the fall it'd be nice.
Yeah, I think in the fall would have been cool, because the northern part, you have some like pretty cool rock scrambles and stuff like coming out of like Lehigh Gap and everything.
And I remember, especially in the southern part before it got like super rocky too, like there's some pretty cool forests like going through the state game lands there. Like I enjoyed the walk through Pennsylvania for the most part.
It was definitely nice and cruisy. Although the other thing about Pennsylvania is there was a lot of graffiti on all the rocks.
Yeah, I did notice that actually.
I really did not like that. I mean, I don't know. I just don't understand why people want to graffiti a rock. But
yeah, it's not non-hikers, which my next one's gonna kind of tie back into that a little bit actually.
Yeah, but I don't know. If there was like some kind of reroute, like a permanent reroute they could just do to get around Pennsylvania, like I'd totally take that. Like I would just
go up into Canada.
I don't know. I'm not sure where it would go. It would end up going. I mean, you either have to go, into the ocean,
we pull up Google Maps. We can come up with our own.
You'd have to go into the ocean, or you'd have to go to the west of it. I'm not sure what's to the west of it.
I'm pulling up Google Maps right now.
My geography is terrible.
So you have to like cut. Let's see. I guess you could just go straight through Delaware and New Jersey from Maryland.
Okay.
Or you could go way west, around through Ohio, up through Canada, and then straight across New York.
All right.
So that doesn't sound that great either. So I don't know.
I guess we should. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe you could hit the Adirondacks though if you went that way, right?
No, the Adirondacks are too far north.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, then you could skip Massachusetts and Connecticut, and that wouldn't be too bad.
Yeah, probably not. I don't know.
I mean, I did like Massachusetts, but if you could, choose to go through the Adirondacks instead, I guess that might be worth it. I don't know.
Yeah, probably.
Either way, I didn't have a great time in Pennsylvania.
The problem is the Adirondacks aren't part of the Appalachian Mountains.
That's true. There's no way. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, get out of there.
That's not some kind of arbitrary distinction at all. We just have to enforce
the Appalachian and Adirondack Trail. That'd be kind of cool.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay. So my next one also ties into the graffiti thing a little bit, because it's something that I feel like is done by people who aren't like actually hike. Well, I say they're not actually hikers. What I mean by that is people that aren't as into it as someone who like is going to listen to a hiking podcast, I guess. Certainly not someone who's done a thru-hiker, even any extensive day hiking. This one is, oh, dude. So honestly, I didn't notice this one on the AT that much. I think I might have just not been paying attention. But on the Foothills Trail, I saw this a couple times. And actually, last weekend, I was hiking in the Catskills, and I noticed it a couple times there too. People who bag their dog shit and then leave the bag. It's like on the side of the trail. It's like, I mean, okay, man. Just you're supposed to like bury the dog shit like you would like human shit. So that's what I advocate for. Like, I'm not advocating not doing that, but if you're not gonna bury it, why even put a bag on it? Like, I'd rather see just like a little dog turd on the side of the trail than like a bright blue like plastic bag, you know? It's like, you're in the fucking woods. Like, if you're not gonna bury it, like, just leave it. Like, you don't have to put it in the bag. Like, it makes no fucking sense.
I have seen this, and I agree. The only thing I've ever thought is like, there's someone who like they pick up some dog poop and they leave it there because they know they're coming back that way and they don't want to carry it the whole time. Like, that's the only way I can like reasonably justify.
Why wouldn't you just bury it then? Like,
well, I assume that like people who are just doing day hikes aren't used to like burying poop in general.
Yeah, they probably don't know, I guess.
So maybe they don't even think that's an option. But I totally agree. I've seen that a bunch, and yeah, it's almost worse than like just walking around dog poop.
Or just fling it with a stick or something. You know?
Yeah, just scoot it off trail. I don't really think that there's
like,
there's
I
much
don't
of a
get it. And again,
that.
like, you're supposed to bury it, people, but like, just coming at it from the perspective of someone who maybe doesn't know that, let's say, it's like, it wouldn't be intuitive for me to just leave the bag. Like, why even put your hand, if you're gonna leave it, like, why even put your hand down there? Like, you know, like, it just makes absolutely no sense. Like, that honestly fucking blows my mind. Like, oh man, that one gets me worked up.
And I have seen it. I've seen it like multiple times. So like, it's not just like a random occurrence. I've seen it like in trails, like all over the place. So I don't know why it seems to be a common practice amongst dog. Maybe some dog owner out there could enlighten us on their
please.
What this is. What the
hell are you thinking? Like, oh my god! Like, I won't call you out. Like, I won't make fun of you. Like, I just am genuinely like flabbergasted by it. Like, it just makes absolutely no sense to me. So, someone, if you've ever done that, you will remain anonymous. Let me know. Absolutely no one's gonna let me know, but I'm gonna put that out there anyway. So
please tell us.
please. Okay. Oh man, that one gets me worked up.
All right. Speaking of poop and leaving things places, honestly, I'm not really sure. You know, we're talking about bagging up poop and stuff like that, and I don't. You know, I would say just leave it on the ground. And along the same lines, I don't even see why people need to bury their poop. Like, I mean, I feel like. You can just, so animal like bears and stuff are pooping everywhere in the woods. They never pick it up and bury it. I've never seen that. Horses are pooping all over the trail, right? Like and they leave a lot of poop. I mean, it is a large quantity, and usually it's like kind of dragged on for like a quarter mile. And I mean, especially if you have like a caravan of them. Oh man, it's just going on and on and on. And so if they're going to be leaving poop everywhere, like, I don't really see why people shouldn't just be pooping everywhere, you know? I mean, and also, like, with Leave No Trace, people are like, they're saying, don't leave your trash everywhere and stuff like that. But, what I would say is, have you ever heard the story of Hansel and Gretel?
No.
I mean, that was a rhetorical question. I assumed you knew. Hansel and Gretel is a story of, I actually don't really know it myself, but I think the premise is these two people go into the woods. These two kids go in the woods, and to avoid getting lost, they leave a trail of breadcrumbs. And so what I would say is, if you want to leave some pieces of trash along the way to make sure, you can kind of get back if you get lost, or if, I mean, God forbid you're lost out there and someone needs to come find you. If you're like being really meticulous and, you're picking up every little piece of trash and you're burying every little piece of poop that you leave, I mean, how is anyone going to find you out there?
Dude, I literally thought you were being serious about the poop thing until like you said leave trash on the trail.
I am being serious.
You want to leave trash on the trail?
Do you remember in Maine, it was like one of the last shelters we were at, I think, we ran into that ridge runner.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think I brought the same argument to him. I was like, isn't it like a safety concern to like leave a trail and go back? And he just gave me this look and he just didn't think it was funny. I was like, That joke fell flat.
Dude, see, like, once you started talking about that, like, I knew you were being sarcastic, but honestly, I thought you were serious about people, like, just leaving shit. I was like, no way.
You were like, okay, this is one grievance I cannot agree with.
That blatantly violates leave no trace. Like, I can't post that. I'll get shit on all over for that.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to edit that out.
But no, we can leave it now. He was sarcastic, people.
And speaking of, like, actual grievances, one of the ones that Little Bear gave me was surface poopers. She wrote that in full caps.
Oh.
And I think she means human surface poopers.
So that I actually kind of had a similar thing, but mine was people. It's like, I mean, again, you should bury your shit, but chances are if you just like shit and then don't bury it, like in the middle of the woods, probably no one's gonna find it. Like, again, bury it, people. But like, I'm talking about the people who literally, like, in someone who hasn't hiked as much might not believe this, but people will literally shit on the side of the trail and just like leave it there and like leave. Dude, who was it? Was it Mullet maybe? He literally walked by a lady that was taking a shit on the side of the trail and made absolutely no attempt to like cover up or anything like that. She just like gave him the head nod and kept doing her business.
Oh,
it's
man.
like I get it, like emergencies happen, especially like on a through hike. But like I feel like you usually have a second to like just like at least run like a little bit off the trail so you're not like right in the middle of the trail. And like, oh man, people literally just shit on the side of the trail. Like, what is that?
And then the toilet paper bloom too.
Yes, and then of course once the shit like decays or whatever the fuck it does, the toilet paper stays longer. So then you just like I'll see this a lot at the top or like near the top of like mountains here in the Northeast.
Yeah,
you'll just see like specks of toilet paper just like and I guess to be fair, these are usually in like denser areas where it's not as easy to just run off the trail. But like, oh man, you gotta do something. Or at least like bury it. Like, shit, I don't know. Like, don't just leave it there on the side of the trail. Like, that's fucked.
Yeah, and to take it to an even worse extreme, I remember there was some water source maybe in North Carolina. I can't remember exactly where, but like I walked down there to go fill up my water, and there was literally toilet paper like right next to this stream that was flowing. And I was like, what is this? This is like just like you didn't bury it and you did it right here. Like. I just don't understand. I don't know. So I think I just hope that it's just people who are like don't really or truly unaware of that.
Yeah,
I don't know.
It probably is because if anybody who's like gotten water from a water source, I feel like they wouldn't do that. But
anyone who need to drink water out of there must understand that that's a bad idea.
Yeah, that or maybe they thought they would get away with it. Who knows? They should have covered up better then. I
guess they did get away with it. We don't know who did it, but
yeah,
it's
true.
Just like that's like the worst sign ever when you go to a water source, you're super thirsty and you just see a bunch of toilet paper. You're like, well, I guess I'm not as thirsty as I was.
Yeah, right. Or you could go upstream, but who knows if someone's shit up there too. Like, goddamn, can't trust anybody these days.
No.
All right. Was that your next one officially?
No, I thought I was just kind of piggyback on that one.
Okay. Well, I'll let you go.
Okay. So this one might be it might be offensive to you, but Southern Vermont and the mud. The mud.
I can see that, honestly.
Yo, you can see that. You can kind of commiserate a little bit.
Yeah, I didn't have a great time through that section either, honestly.
Okay, I'm really glad you're like, no, it's every mile of Vermont is the best section of trail in the entire.
I will say I've done that. So I recall that the first 30 miles, so from the Mass border to Manchester Center, Vermont, that was like the worst of the mud. Like, yeah, there was mud on the other spots too, but that was like when it was really bad. And I'll say I've hiked that first 30 miles 4 times. Like that, the time I went through on the AT, that was the 4th time I'd done that 30 miles there. Yeah, 4th time, 30 miles. And that was by far the worst mud I've ever seen through there. So like, that's definitely a super like shitty, muddy section of trail anyways. But I think we also just caught it at like the worst time possible as well. Cause I think we had some rain like a couple days before that or something. And
yeah, I do. I remember it did rain like before we were getting there. I think it kind of stopped raining once we were there. So it probably could have been worse, but I remember getting to the border and first of all, when we were there, the border sign, if you want to take like a photo next to the border, it's surrounded by mud. So you have to basically stand. It's like, welcome to Vermont. If you want to take a photo, you have to stand in the mud. It's like your initiation into like hiking through Vermont. And when we were there, when we got there was this hiker sitting there and he was kind of sitting up on the drier rocks or whatever nearby. Yeah. And he was just, it's like kind of, he just was like, I feel like he was like looking down at his feet. He had his like hand in his head in his hands, just like looked so dejected. And I was like, hey, I think I just started like, just some, chat or whatever. And I was like, and I figured out he's going solo. I'm like, oh, you just went through all Vermont. He's just looking at me like he's in shell shock. And I'm like, so I was like, man, when is this all going to end? He's like, man, when you get to New Hampshire, I guess. I was like, oh no. Like, I thought it was just like the southern part. It's kind of what I'd heard. It was just the southern part. I was like, oh no, this is going to be miserable. And I was just really hoping, because the weather had gotten like a little cooler. So I was like, man, I really like Vermont. I don't want to have to hate like going into Vermont. Like, I want this to be a good experience. But I was like, no, this is going to be awful. But I think that was definitely an exaggeration. It was just more like the first 30 or so miles.
Yeah.
And I remember, man, like the first day, I think it did rain the first day we were there. And so it was just so muddy. And, you spend the first like hour you're in Vermont trying to like go around the mud pits and like, bushwhack to the side of the trail. But eventually you just give up and you're just like walking through the mud. So I remember the first night we were there, I think we were deciding, Little Bear and I were deciding if we were going to go kind of push on to another shelter or stay at this current one. And we got to, I don't remember which shelter. It was one of the first ones in Vermont. And there were I think there was this group of people who were hiking the long trail, or they were hiking a section of it. Because it was, how a lot of the schools in the Northeast are doing like their college orientation. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, the thing, the summer before your freshman year, you kind of go out and do like a group activity, whatever. And so there's like this group of people, and you can tell they're not like quite as like just haggard and worn down as like the thru-hikers are coming through. And so we get to the shelter. I think Little Bear like runs. She heads to the privy, and so I'm kind of just talking to some of the, like a couple of these girls that are hiking the long trail or doing a section, something like that. And I'm saying how I actually wasn't even complaining about Vermont at this point. I was actually saying how much I was loving Vermont, because it was like we kind of, the forest that kind of changed into like the evergreen trees, and the temperature had been cooler. So I remember I wasn't sweating as much. And so I was really enjoying that. And I was just saying how, yeah, I'm really enjoying this part. I'm really like, I've told them how they asked like how far you've been going. I said I've been doing the whole AT, and I was saying how I was really just enjoying this part and enjoying Vermont and everything. And then as I'm like sitting there like just saying how I'm having a good time, Little Bear comes back from the privy, and she says something, and I say something like, hasn't it just been so nice like in Vermont so far, Little Bear? And she's just like, fuck Vermont, and then just keeps walking. And as soon as she says that, this other girl just goes, oh, she like audibly gasps, she's just like, she hasn't seen like someone have a serious meltdown on trail yet, and I could tell that she was just horrified. And I was like, okay, nice to meet you. And then like grabbed my bag, and like, I was like, better just keep walking. And I was like, I better keep up with Little Bear. She might just like run off into the woods and just like quit the trail. But it was so funny. Little Bear was just not, it was just one of those days where she, just wasn't having a good day. And it was just so funny, because I remember sitting there, and I was just, at that point I was still having a good time in Vermont. And then I was just, talking about how great it was, but she just came back and dropped a completely different opinion. And like everyone at the shelter was just looking at us like, oh my gosh, like, cause they had only been there like one day, so they weren't used to that yet. And I was like, oh, sorry about her. She's had a bad day. But this girl was like terrible. She's like, fuck Vermont. And I was like, damn. Like, she doesn't usually have outbursts like that, but that was a particularly nasty one. It was just so funny. All these people at the shelter making dinner just looking at us, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go now. This is awkward.
Figure, how many non-Trail Tales grievances do you have left on your list? Because I still have like more than half my list left.
I have a lot, but I have like just a couple I think are like the most heinous that need to be discussed.
Okay, because I was gonna say, I feel like in the interest of time, we should do round 2 for this and just make it a separate episode.
If you that sounds good to me.
Want to do that? I think we should do another one. I was gonna say I'm gonna have you on at some point soon, eventually anyway. So
let's do that. I mean, I'm surprised, because I know there's at least one thing you haven't complained about yet. So if you're holding it off, though, then
is it yellow blazing?
It's yellow blazing.
I knew it. Yeah, I have that on my list.
I knew you. This is gonna be that's like 30 minutes right there. Probably you talking about yellow blazing. So.
We'll get into that next time. Maybe in the next couple of weeks. Or I know you're gonna be busy. We'll figure it out. But I'll definitely have you back on. Right. That being said, I want to have time for both the Trail Tales grievances and the stories. So. Yeah. All right. Trail Tales grievances. All right. So this was actually like the original grievance idea, right? It was you were like, I'm gonna come up with some grievances for Trail Tales, and then we were kind of like, oh, we could just make it more general about hiking too.
Yeah, there was someone, I don't remember which episode, it was like a while ago, but someone sent you an email where they had like this list of complaints, quote unquote. And after I heard that, I just thought that was so funny, and I started thinking. Like when I started thinking about things like this person was like quote unquote complaining about, I just started thinking about all these other things that I wanted to complain about. And I've just been kind of I think I've listened to every single episode except for the one that we're doing right now so far. And so I feel like I've seen pretty much all of Trail Tales. I feel like I'm in a good position to really give some constructive feedback to you, and just
constructive feedback is very different than a grievance.
That's true. So maybe I should just, call these aren't grievances. This is just some constructive criticism, just to, kind of give you, you're always asking for feedback on the podcast, right?
Sure.
So I just wanted to give you a little constructive feedback, just kind of give you my thoughts and you can do with them as whatever you see fit.
I'm going to rebut every single thing you say.
That's fine. That sounds good. So the first thing is, I'm a big gear nerd, and I really just feel like you should have all of your guests list their entire gear list, just the whole thing, and including the weight of each item as well, in ounces and in grams, because you just, some people are metric, some people are standard. We don't want to discriminate. So I really think that every episode you should just spend a good 15 minutes just like, just list the entire thing on the spreadsheet. I mean, I would find that just riveting.
I mean, I love to talk about gear, and that's pretty much all I talk about on this podcast. So that is kind of a good idea.
Yeah, I mean, I know that this is mostly a gear podcast, and you don't even make people list their gear list. I just don't understand.
To be fair, to be serious, I feel like maybe having people like write up their gear list and post it and like put it in the show notes, like that could be like actually something productive. As far as going through their gear at the beginning of every single episode in grams and ounces, you can go fuck yourself.
Well, that's your opinion, and again, you're entitled to it. So,
what's number 2?
So the next one is that the intros, they just aren't long enough. I mean, you're just not. I feel like there's so much more you could cover in the intro part. And another thing is, you don't mention all the different ways that people can contact you enough. I mean, there's so many times when I'm just like at my phone or at my computer, I'm thinking, I have this idea. I want to like send it to Trail Tales, but I just can't remember what the email address is. It's like trailpods@tails.. I just get kind of confused, and then
trailtalespod@yahoo.com, man.
Yeah, is it at msn.net? I can never remember which domain name it is, So I don't know. If you would just say them more frequently, then I would probably, maybe you'd get some more of that feedback you're looking for.
That's genius. Why did I never think of that?
There's just something to think about. Maybe you could just have like little interruptions in the middle of someone's sentence, just kind of cut them off. And say, excuse me, I want to just like really quickly, let's just like go through the contact list again for the third time, and then we'll go, just.
For anybody listening, if you want to contact me, you can do that. You can go to trailtalespod@gmail.com and send me an email. You can send me an Instagram DM. You can fucking send me a MySpace. That's not true. I don't have a MySpace.
Oh, see, actually, MySpace I think there's a big market that's untapped there if you're missing out on MySpace.
Hikers love MySpace.
Do you have a Grindr account too, and a Tinder account?
Whoa! Well, there's a big difference between Grindr and Tinder, first of all. But
okay,
no,
I actually don't. I don't know myself. I'm just saying you
might want to Google that one.
You could just be missing out on a large demographic. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, that's great. All right. Number 3, I love it. Let's keep them rolling.
All right, next one. There's not enough singing. I think you had that
singing.
one. Yeah, so you had one time in the intro or something that you sang. And your voice was just angelic, and I just don't. I don't understand, why you're not singing more. Maybe you should sing your intros, or just like sing, make a song about like why people should, support you on Patreon or something like that, And you talked about the guitar pick, so you've got a guitar. I mean, just strum out some chords,
Problem is, I listen to like emo music and like punk music, so like that's not trail. That's not gonna work. Well,
but
I could sing about my emo trail grievances, maybe.
Yeah, maybe you could just know it's an emotional appeal to like you need wanting supporters on Patreon. That's all. Just an idea.
It's an idea.
So the next one, there's a couple. So I think that something that's really lacking from the show is you don't use the phrase "send it" and the phrase for sure enough. There's just for sure not enough of those phrases in there.
That's literally my go-to. It's like every time I'm like trying to move on to the next question, I'm like, oh, for sure. Actually, I guess I say that pretty much after every question.
Well, anytime someone gives you an answer, not frequent enough. Sometimes you'll say for sure at the end of their answer, but it's just not enough. I think it's just really heartwarming when you get to hear that. So
I say way too much. Actually, I never catch myself when I'm actually talking until there it is. Until about 20 minutes earlier when I was talking, I actually caught myself for the first time using way too much. And I was like, oh, I'm gonna hate that when I listen back to edit this. So like's another one.
I think that's a problem that a lot of people I think have when they publicly speak and stuff like that.
Yeah, for sure.
There you go. Oh, thank you. I just like hearing it. That's all. I like hearing it.
For sure.
All right. I think problem is that with this podcast, there's not enough talk about snakes, and specifically how you don't like snakes. How Vermont doesn't have any venomous snakes. When you got to Vermont on the AT, you were so excited because there were no more venomous snakes. I'm just saying, I feel like that point hasn't been driven home hard enough.
Really? Okay.
I think so.
I have not had any guests on recently that did the Appalachian Trail, but when I do, I will make sure that I bring up snakes and how in Vermont we do not have any on the Appalachian Trail. We actually do. Vermont does have one rattlesnake den in southern Vermont near the Rutland area, but it's not on the Green Mountain, so it's not near the AT. So you don't have to worry about them in Vermont. Don't worry, people. There's no venomous. I can't pronounce that word. That's why I always say poisonous. There's no poisonous snakes.
Which is just wrong.
Venomous. Venomous. Yeah, I hate snakes though. You're right.
Another thing that you don't talk about enough is how you don't like winter hiking and how you don't do it. Just haven't mentioned it enough times. That's all I'm saying.
I have driven that point home quite a bit in the last few episodes because Sean Crawford, Syntax 77, and Alton. Yeah. She does a lot of winter hiking too, and that's the only reason why. It was just recently. It's just on your mind now, you see? You go back to the earlier episodes, I might have said it before, but not as frequently as 31 and 32, because I mentioned it in back-to-back episodes. So that's why you're thinking of that, Baker, I'm telling you.
Well, again, there's not enough in my opinion.
Okay, I hate winter hiking, everybody. I mean, I don't hate it, I just don't really do it because I like to ski. Yeah, and I get cold.
Big ski guy.
Love to ski. Shred it up.
Another thing you don't talk about enough is the pronunciation of co-host or co-host, quahos. Oh, man. There's not enough because really I don't even know how to say it myself. I've heard you say it a bunch of times. I don't know. I think that you should probably dedicate an entire episode just to the pronunciation of it. Maybe you could just repeat the word over and over again for an hour.
For an entire episode.
Yeah, it would train you to say it. Like the listeners would get to hear it. It would really, they would get inundated with it.
I think it's co-host. I think I actually have it now. It took 2 episodes. Or 3 episodes, maybe. Do
you think maybe it'd be a good idea to bring on a linguistic expert to kind of dig into the origins of that pronunciation?
Maybe someone who knows a lot about northern New Hampshire history could enlighten me on what the hell that means. Because then there's also the county. It's see, this is what Alton and I talked about. It's COOS county, Coos, and then the Coos Trail is Cohos. See, there it is. You rest your case. It's COHOS. So it's they're almost the same, but they're not. I don't know. I don't know what's going on up there in northern New Hampshire. In Gorham. The hell's that?
Actually, I'm glad you talked about that trail. I'd never heard of it. That sounds like a pretty cool trail. I'm kind of interested in doing that.
If you ever want to do it, let me know.
All right.
I'm down.
If I can figure out how to pronounce it, I'll definitely I'll definitely do it.
That's step one, eh?
All right. Another thing is that I really would love to hear more talk about professional hockey. You know, especially the Bruins too.
You're not going to hear very much about it until like October now. So
see, you said that if the Bruins lost, then you wouldn't be talking about it. But here we go. The episode I was listening to today, you were talking about it again.
I did mention it. You're right, because he was from Canada. It's like
he just automatically loves hockey. Yeah, that's sure the Canadians love that.
Oh god,
he's from like Calgary. It's not even close to Boston.
I know, right? Oh shit! Yeah, you're right. I shouldn't have brought it up. I shouldn't have brought it up. They lost.
No, I would just embrace it.
If you think that was bad, if they had won, you bet your ass I would have fucking talked about it even more though. So
it's true. Okay, maybe we should just be thankful. You know, I don't know. Maybe just have a few episodes dedicated entirely to hockey. You know, it's like this week we take a digression from our normal hiking subject to talk about I mean, I don't know. Just maybe listeners would love it.
Pucktails.
That sounds like a movie where a bunch of like ducks would be playing, you know, hockey or something. What's that one? Is it the Mighty Ducks?
The Mighty Ducks. Oh yeah.
The Pucktails. I don't know.
Go Bruins.
Go Bruins. All right. Another thing that you don't talk about enough is how gross the water sources on the Arizona Trail are.
That's fair.
I don't know. There's just like I think they are absolutely so disgusting. I can't imagine how anyone could possibly hike any part of that trail. You've got to drive that point home, you know?
Do you think if I had Joseph back on, and for anybody listening, go back and listen to, this was another early episode, like somewhere between 10 and 15, something like that, maybe. Go back. I think I should have him back on and just have the entire episode be about the water sources on, because I only dedicated about half of that episode to it, so I think I need to drive that home even more.
There's so much more to cover there, you know.
Like, what kind of things did you find floating around in the water sources? Like what color? Like what shade of green were they? You know, stuff like that. I don't think I dived into that enough. You're right. That's fair.
Yeah. So I mean, you know, it's basically a public service announcement for anyone who's thinking of hiking in Arizona. Is, you know, watch out for those water sources.
Yeah, I just had the episode that you have not heard yet because it's not out yet, but a little sneak preview for you and you only, Baker, because everybody that is listening to this has probably already heard that episode by the time they hear this. My guest, I guess this is hard to phrase. Oh, I'm just going to say last week, even though it hasn't come out yet. My last week's guest, he did the CDT. Well, he did the Triple Crown, but I asked him a lot about the CDT. And I didn't really ask him about the water sources too much. And I know there's some pretty like nasty water sources on the CDT too. So I blew it. We should have done, if I hadn't canceled on you, like the first time we were going to do this episode last week, then I would have been able to drive that point home because I would have interviewed him the day afterwards. But I canceled on you. So yeah.
I'm sorry. Well, I should have just sent this feedback in. But again, I didn't know how to contact you. So I just couldn't remember. I would have sent it earlier, but you know, it's all right. You know for the next time.
At Trail Tales Pod.
Okay. So my final grievance is that I really would just love to hear more of the intro and the outro music. You know, the song, it's not repetitive whatsoever. It's a very intricate and complex piece, you know? I mean, every time I listen to it, I feel like I just discover a new facet of it that I hadn't heard the first 30 or 40 times, you know? And I also feel like as I'm listening to it, I not only do I discover more about the song itself, but I feel like I discover more about myself, you know? I feel like it helps me introspect my own life, and really, I can't say enough good things about that intro and outro music, you know? So, okay, you know, let me tell you about my favorite part about the song. Okay, so you know that part where it's going like, it's like, da-na-na-na-na-na-na. Wait, but then it goes, da-na-na-na-na-na. Okay, so then right after that is that part where it's like, da-na-na-na-na-na-na-na. That's my favorite part. I mean, again, I love the whole part. I love all of it. But there's just that part right there, just really, you know, do you know which part I'm talking about?
I think so. I might have to go back and listen to be sure.
Okay, yeah, I know this again. There's a lot to that song, but that da-na-na-na, it just every time just when it gets to that part in particular,
Oh my God.
I really really love it. So
a funny thing about that song is, so I got that song from YouTube. Actually, YouTube has a free music library for like people who make videos, and I don't have any YouTube videos, but like. That's how it's like the what's it called, Creative Commons, so like I can use it without like violating any copyright laws. And if you watch enough like YouTube videos, I guess specifically, there's a good chance that you're gonna hear that song somewhere else, because it's just like this public library for YouTubers, so like anybody else can go and download that song and use it too. And my dad actually found it somewhere another time and told my mom about it, and she told me about it, and I was like, yep, that's gonna happen potentially.
Yeah.
Anybody listening, if you've heard that song elsewhere, like definitely let me know, because that's kind of hilarious.
So I have heard it elsewhere. I don't remember what the video was, but I do remember like when the first few episodes of Trail Tales, Little Bear being like, I'm pretty sure I watched like a Dixie video where
did Dixie use it? Oh,
I don't know. That's what she thought.
I hope she did.
I don't know if she uses it like in her newer ones, but I don't know. Either way, when the first time we heard that, Little Bear was like, I've heard this before. So, I mean, it's good, like it's just such a popular, actually, I do like the intro music. I kind of like, when I first heard it, I was like, yes, like let's get hardcore here and aggressive.
I'll say if I get a couple more Patreon supporters, then maybe I'll be able to afford to just buy the copyrights to that song, and then we can just ruin every other YouTube video that has that song. I don't think that's a thing. I'm pretty sure you can't do that, but
take it down.
Let's buy the copyrights to this, people. Let's crowdfund a little bit.
Yes, absolutely.
Damn.
All right, that was my list of feedback for you, just some constructive criticism, so that you could just things to improve. That's all,
It's much appreciated, people. See, I haven't said this in a while, but at some of the earlier episodes, I would always ask for like people to send me shit talk, and that's only the second time I've ever gotten any like legitimate shit talk, people. So that's the kind of thing I'm looking for when I say that. Send me some sarcastic shit. Like I'd love to hear. Or if you like genuinely think I'm an asshole, like you can send that too. That's fine. That'd be hilarious.
You haven't gotten a single
legitimate
complaint?
Well, okay, I've gotten like legitimate complaints, but when I say like talk some shit, I mean like, don't be like, hey, I love your show. By the way, could you swear less? Because that's the one I get like the most.
Oh, I see.
I mean like legitimately like tear into me like Baker just did, and like the other guy whose name is escaping me at the moment. That was a while ago.
He definitely. I will shout out to that guy who we don't know his name.
That was hilarious.
That totally inspired me. I was like, okay, I have a few of those.
Yes, that was amazing. So awesome. All right, let's. I'm not gonna forget. Let's do some stories, Baker. So like I said,
all right.
Third episode. Forgot the first two times. I think it's just because I know you and like we're friends. So like normally I don't have like a notepad in front of me, but usually when I do these, I'll have like all my questions or topics written down, and then I'll always like write story time at the end, and so I kind of factor that into like the time and stuff. But I don't know. That's my excuse anyway. So I'm sorry, I forgot. Let's hear probably just one. Unfortunately,
no, it's all good.
If you have more than one, you can save it for our next episode. And
there we go.
The next episode. All right. So yeah, let's hear your favorite story.
All right. So this one occurs occurs at McAfee Knob. So very picturesque, iconic place on the AT, and some people say the most photographed place potentially. And it's just for anyone who hasn't seen it, you've probably seen a photo of it if you've looked at AT photos. It's where you have this big rock outcrop and it's sticking out, and you can kind of stand on the side and take a photo that shows that you're really just standing on like there's nothing below you. It's just a big rock outcropping sticking out, and you're just kind of suspended in the air. So it's a beautiful spot, really really nice area. And so some context for that day. So Little Bear and I think that was like maybe the longest day we'd done up to that point. It was like 23 something miles. It was a long day. We were definitely starting to hustle because we were kind of feeling the pressure of trying to finish the AT in time, because we were kind of running a little late, and we really wanted to finish the whole thing going Nobo. So we were a little stressed out. We're trying to push our bigger days and stuff like that. And so we were both kind of tired, both kind of stressed out, and we were hoping to get to McAfee Knob before the sunset, because we know like its faces, I think I don't remember which way it faces, but you can see the sunset and the sunrise, which is really cool. Anyway, so we're pushing to to get there in time for the sunset, and it's a really hot day. I think we kind of ran out of water at one point or something like that. And Little Bear's, I think her stomach hadn't been feeling really great this time. So, she wasn't in the greatest of moods. I was in the greatest of moods. But either way, we get up to McAfee Knob and we do make it in time for sunset, maybe like just an hour before. We're kind of hanging out a bit and, it's like it's starting to get kind of breezy and really nice. And, it's a perfect day. It's totally clear out. And, I'm just like, I'm totally having a good time. So my mood's starting to get better and everything. And so we're up there with some other thru-hikers and they're all, they're all really cool. We're having a great time hanging out with them. And so the sun starts to set. And so we're like, oh, it's a perfect sunset. There's like no clouds anywhere. The colors are changing. It's just beautiful. And so Little Bear's like, oh, take my photo. I'm like, okay. She's like, I want a photo where, the sun's setting behind me and I'm kind of silhouetted by it. I'm like, okay. And so I go up there to start to take the photo and I take a few and I'm like, oh, these are perfect. These are great. And then the sun sets, and I got her like right at the perfect moment when the sun was setting, right at the horizon. I was like, oh, these are great. She's going to love these. And so she comes back over to me and I give her a phone and she looks at it. She's like, these are garbage. I was like, what? No, those are super good. Like the sun's setting right behind you and you're like right in front of me. She's like, no, I want it to be like totally silhouetted and like blacked out. And I was like, oh no. Like I thought this would like kind of lighten her mood and like, turn the day around. But no, I totally fucked up taking the photo. I didn't take it the right way. And so I'm like, damn, I really goofed up here. So anyway, we stay up there for dinner, I think. And then, we're just going to camp. There's like a campsite just a little bit north of it, like just a few tenths of a mile north. And so we head down to the camp because the idea is we're going to go back up to McAfee Knob the next morning for sunrise. And because, we're there, might as well enjoy it. And so we go down to the campsite, we camp for the night and everything. And then we, wake up at super early, way before dawn, because we want to try to see as much of the sunrise as we can. So we hike in the dark with our headlamps back up to McAfee Knob. And we get up there and it's like, again, just a perfect day. There's no clouds. This you can just start to see the horizon starting to light up. Just one of those really beautiful sunrises. So we're up there and a bunch of the other hikers who had been there the night before, they're up there too, also watching the sunrise. And there's this one guy who the night before, he had kind of been joking how he really wanted to take like a nude photo standing up there. He just wanted like a naked photo of himself standing up there. Yeah, exactly. So, we're all like, everyone's like, oh, do it, just do it. And he's like, all right, cool. So finally he like takes his clothes off. He runs up there. He like has his hat. So he covers his junk up with his hat and he's just like standing there in the end, like his hands up in the air. Like he's got like the metal horns up and everything. He's like, hell yeah. He's just like standing there and like his friends like standing up there like, taking the photo of him. And then all of a sudden I see like the guy standing there naked. He just goes, oh shit. And he just kind of like jumps down and like he's like, you can tell he's like trying to hide behind a rock, but there's like really no rocks up. There's like nowhere to hide. But either way, he's clearly embarrassed about something. and he's just standing there naked. And then I turn around and there's this lady who's walking up, just like she's coming up to watch the sunrise too, I guess. And, it was just a bunch of thru-hikers up there, or so we thought originally. Yeah. And so it was like, we're like, whatever, like somebody who's naked, doesn't matter. But then, it was like a weekend, I think. So we were like, oh, like we thought it was like some day hiker or someone who was coming up who maybe wouldn't be expecting to see a dude just standing there naked on the edge of the knob, whatever. And so he's like, ma'am, I'm so sorry. I really, really didn't mean to. I can't believe it. It was really rude of me, whatever. And then I kind of turn around and look at her and she has like a backpack on. She's like, no, it's all good. Like I'm doing a section. Like I've seen shit like this before, and we're like, oh, okay. So she's like chill about it. We're like, all right, that's good. We didn't want to make it like awkward up here. Yeah. And then she's kind of like, I really wanted to take one of those naked photos too, but I just haven't been brave enough. And we're like, oh, you should do it. And she's like, no. It's like, no, I don't want to. And we're like, okay. So we all kind of sit there, and the sun again, it's still rising. It's just like it's a beautiful sunrise. We're just enjoying it so much, and then. All of a sudden, she just stands up. She's like, fuck it. I'm going to do it. I'm going to take the naked photo. And we're like, yeah, we're all like cheering and stuff. And so she walks up to the edge and she starts like, she's like saying like, oh, who can take this photo? And like, it just so happened that like I was standing closest to her at the time. And so, cause we were just kind of standing in a group. And so she gets to the edge and she just turns like, hey, can you take the photo? And I'm like, sure. And like Little Bear's there and stuff. And I'm like, oh man, like I hope I don't get in trouble for this, but I didn't want to be rude and be like, ew, no, I don't want to take your photo. So I was like, okay, I guess I'll do it. So I had like my pack on, so I like, I kind of like turned around to put my pack down, and I figured like by naked photo, maybe she just meant one of those photos where like, you just like take your shirt and your bra off and you're standing.
Like, yeah,
you're like standing away from the camera and stuff like that. And I'm like, okay, that's probably what she means. And so I just like turn around, I put my pack down, and then I turn back to where she's standing, and I was very wrong. She has all her clothes off. And I'm just like, oh no. And she's thankfully facing away from me. So I'm like, okay, I think I'm still okay here, but I'm seeing a lot more than I thought I was going to be seeing. And so I have her phone. I'm like, okay, I better take these photos. And so I'm like staring intensely at the camera. And I'm like, like when someone's like naked, you don't want to be like that creeper who's staring at them. But I'm like, well, I'm taking this photo. Like I have to stare at it. So I'm like staring like really intensely, and I'm kind of like, messing with it. I'm like, well, if she's going to be naked, like I gotta give her like a good photo, right? She can't like get naked to have like a bad photo. So I'm like, okay, I gotta work with this. So I'm like tapping on the screen. I'm like changing all the lighting, zooming in and out, changing the angle and stuff. Like I take a whole bunch of photos, and so I finally I'm like, okay, I think I got enough. And she's like, okay. And so I turn around and I'm like, okay, that was good. Like she didn't like try to turn around and like take a front side photo or something like that. And like I think I'm still like not in trouble with Little Bear here. And so I'm holding the phone, and then Little Bear comes over, and she goes, these photos are so good. Why can't you take photos of that like me? And I'm like, oh, no. I was just like, this is a train wreck. This is so bad. And so I gave her back the phone, and she was like, oh, these are great photos. I love these. And so she like posted them on Instagram too. And I'm like, thank God she didn't like tag me as like photo buy or whatever.
Yeah, right.
I mean, I was like, damn, like, I didn't even ask Little Bear. I was like, I figured that she wouldn't really care, and like I knew she wouldn't really care, but the fact that she was like so mad that the photos that I took of the naked lady were so good and the ones I took of her were terrible, I was like, oh man, that like I was just hoping that it could she wouldn't be as mad at me today or as upset, but I was like, I guess I'm in trouble again.
What happens on the trail stays on the trail.
Exactly. It was just a one-time thing. So that was the first and only naked photo shoot I've ever done. So I guess I can add that to my photo resume right there.
More like what happens on McAfee Knob stays on McAfee Knob.
Yeah. What happens on the knob stays on the knob.
Yeah, keep the knobs on the knob.
Unless they post it on Instagram, and then it's everywhere.
Yeah, then it's on the internet for everyone to see. That's hilarious. I don't think you ever told me that story on Trail.
Yeah, I didn't know if you knew that or not, but yeah, that was one of the funnier instances on the AT.
All right, yeah, shit. On that note, I think we're gonna wrap it up, Baker. Can you do me a favor though? Can you have Little Bear come over and give her an earbud?
Little Bear, you're being summoned to the podcast.
Hey.
Hello. All right, so this episode is going to be coming out after this happens, but I wanted to congratulate you both on getting married next week while we're live here.
Thank you.
Honestly, I'm glad we were able to get this in beforehand. But yeah, everybody listening to, go find Baker and Little Bear on Instagram, which we're going to talk about in just a second, and go wish them a congratulations, because at the time you hear this, they will already have been married. So that's pretty cool. Congrats, guys.
Thank you. Wow, no pressure. Like if something terrible happens.
Oh, true. That's what editing's for.
That's true. We'll cut that part out. You
guys have been together forever. What the hell's... If she lets you take naked pictures of this other girl, I'm pretty sure you're going to be fine.
It's true. I don't know, but I feel like maybe retelling it may have like brought up some old scars or something like that. I hope this doesn't cause any bad problems.
She's laughing. I think you're good. On that note, in case anybody missed it the first couple episodes, because Little Bear did an episode too. I feel like we didn't mention that.
Ages ago, yeah.
That was another old one. You're going to have to come on for another one too. Maybe you can think of some more grievances, and we can
actually, yeah, I was gonna say
more complaining. That's exactly
you should
what
do the
need.
Grievances with her, because she has a lot of grievances.
I don't. I mean, I do have a lot of grievances, but maybe we shouldn't go there.
Vermont.
Yeah, Vermont.
Where can they go to follow you guys on Instagram?
So I'm at Bokorney, BBOKORNEY.
And I'm at JLynPoo, JLYNNP, as in Papa, U.
Cool. Thank you guys very much. Enjoy the rest of your lawn mowing. That's the one you gave me like ages ago, right, Baker?
Yep,
I still remember that. Because then I started to use it during the winter, and I was like, wait a minute, no. And now it's lawn mowing season again.
This is peak lawn mowing season, man.
Peak lawn mowing season.
The lawn mowers are just going there at full time, right? I don't even know what I'm saying.
House. We have not mowed the
That's
lawn
true.
at our house since moving in
except at our place. Yeah, except at our place. But in general, yeah, there's lawnmowers everywhere.
In 2 weeks, you'll have a fresh episode of Trail Tales featuring yourself to listen to while you mow the lawn. So, yeah.
Yes.
Do
perfect.
Thanks for listening, everybody, and have a good one.